He smiles, but the gesture is chilling. Saddam Hussein playfully points a gun at the head of his cousin and future wife in this rare photo from the early 1960s. Long before he became Iraq's ruthless dictator, Saddam was already steeped in violence and intimidation, traits that would define his rule for decades. This unsettling moment captures the dark charisma and menace that surrounded him, even in private life, a foreshadowing of the brutal legacy he would leave behind. He was a husband, a father, a man who wanted nothing more than to go home. But on September 11, 2001, Tom Burnett found himself aboard United Flight 93, and in the face of unthinkable terror, he chose to fight. Leading passengers in a desperate revolt, he forced the hijackers' plan to collapse, crashing the plane in a Pennsylvania field instead of the U.S. Capitol. 44 souls perished that day, but countless others lived, because ordinary people, like Tom, became heroes. He once ruled Europe with fire and steel, but here lies the silence of his final moment, Napoleon Bonaparte's death mask. Cast in 1821 after his death in exile on St. Helena, this haunting relic is the most authentic image we have of the French emperor's true face. The closed eyes, the still lips, frozen forever, remind us that even the most powerful conquerors cannot escape mortality. A man who shaped history reduced to a single, lifeless imprint. She was the First Lady of Song, a voice that could silence a room with beauty. But in 1955, Ella Fitzgerald was silenced by handcuffs. Her crime? Singing to an integrated audience. In a nation still shackled by segregation, her arrest was more than an insult. It was a warning to anyone daring to bridge the racial divide. Yet Ella's music outlived the bars that tried to cage her, echoing a truth America could no longer ignore. August 15, 1961, a young East German soldier named Hans Conrad Schumann makes a choice that would echo through history. With the barbed wire of a divided Berlin at his feet, and the Berlin Wall just beginning to rise, he leapt, trading uniform for freedom in a single heartbeat. That jump wasn't just over wire. It was over fear, oppression, and the Iron Curtain itself. The cameras caught it all, transforming Schumann into the very symbol of defiance against a wall meant to last forever. London, November 4, 1940. In the middle of rubble and shattered glass, a bride steps out of her bombed-out home, bouquet in hand, determined to marry. The Blitz had turned her street into ruins, but nothing could stop her walk to the altar. This photograph captures more than a wedding day. It's defiance, resilience, and love shining brighter than the destruction of war. In a world falling apart, she chose hope, and that choice became one of the most powerful images of wartime London. During Prohibition, when alcohol was outlawed in the U.S., companies found clever loopholes, like this, Vino Sano grape bricks. Sold as harmless flavor blocks to make grape juice, the box came with a warning label that conveniently explained exactly how not to let it ferment into wine. Of course, that's precisely what people did. This little package wasn't just grape concentrate. It was a silent rebellion, proof that when the government banned booze, Americans found a way to toast in secret anyway. In the 1970s and 80s, deep in the coal mines of Appalachia, a quiet revolution was happening. Women were breaking into one of the toughest, most dangerous jobs in America. These rare photos show them in their helmets and work clothes, covered in dust but unshaken, standing shoulder to shoulder in a world that had long tried to keep them out. Every shift underground wasn't just about survival. It was about defiance, resilience, and rewriting history where few ever thought women belonged. She was just 15 years old, clutching her school books, when she walked straight into the storm. In 1957, Elizabeth Eckford faced a mob of screaming classmates and armed soldiers outside Little Rock Central High School. The hate in their voices was deafening, but she didn't flinch. As one of the Little Rock Nine, Her silent walk became a symbol of courage, defiance, and the price of justice in a segregated America. Step back into the 1980s, when movie nights began with a trip to the video store. Rows of VHS tapes stacked like treasure, posters of blockbusters on the walls, and the thrill of choosing the perfect rental. It wasn't just about watching a film. It was about the ritual, the nostalgia, and the magic of bringing Hollywood home in a black plastic box. In this powerful 1949 photo, Eleanor Roosevelt, former First Lady of the United States, holds the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a document she helped draft for the United Nations after World War II. Written in the shadow of genocide and war crimes, this declaration became a beacon of hope, affirming the dignity and equality of all human beings. Roosevelt called it a Magna Carta for all mankind, a bold attempt to prevent future atrocities. More than just words on paper, it was a global promise that justice, freedom, and human rights would belong to everyone. From the window of a passing plane, a passenger captured the unimaginable. The Twin Towers of New York engulfed in smoke on the morning of September 11, 2001. Just minutes before, hijacked planes had struck the buildings in one of the deadliest terrorist attacks in history. What seemed like an ordinary flight turned into a front-row seat to tragedy, as thousands of lives were lost and the world changed forever. This haunting perspective freezes the exact moment innocence shattered, a calm sky, a peaceful city, and rising smoke signaling the dawn of a darker era. On election night in 2000, Americans watched history twist in real time. The TV flashed victory for Al Gore in Florida, the state that would decide the presidency. But within hours, that win vanished into chaos. Ballots were misread, machines failed, and lawsuits exploded. The entire nation was left hanging on one word: recount. Weeks later, the Supreme Court stopped the process, handing George W. Bush the presidency by just 537 votes in Florida. This snapshot freezes the shocking moment when millions thought Gore had already won, before democracy itself was put to the ultimate test. He was the man who would plunge the world into its darkest chapter. But here, in 1936, Adolf Hitler is caught in a rare, unguarded moment at his mountain retreat, the Berghof. No speeches, no armies, no crowds, just silence. It's unsettling to see the face of evil looking almost ordinary, a reminder that history's greatest monsters don't always appear monstrous. Taken by his personal photographer Heinrich Hoffmann, this candid shot freezes Hitler in the very year he hosted diplomats and plotted war, the calm before a storm that would claim over 70 million lives worldwide. Not your average snowman. In the winter of Victorian England, creativity took a strikingly elegant form. These two ladies in Pangbourne crafted not a simple figure, but a full snow lady, complete with a gown, bodice, and even styled hair. Captured in the late 19th century, this whimsical yet haunting image feels almost like a ghostly bride frozen in time. It's a glimpse of how even in an era defined by strict etiquette and rigid fashion, moments of play and artistry could flourish, leaving behind one of the most unusual snow sculptures ever photographed. Would your dog pass this test? In Germany, 1987, police service dogs faced their ultimate trial: absolute composure in front of a cat strutting fearlessly past them. One wrong move and years of training could be undone. Discipline was everything. This remarkable moment captures not just obedience, but the razor-sharp control demanded of canine units. The cat, oblivious or simply fearless, steals the show, walking with the confidence of a king among soldiers. A snapshot of discipline, courage, and unexpected humor frozen in time. What if I told you this photo hides one of Hollywood's biggest what-ifs? In 1996, Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves were at the height of their careers after Speed turned them into an iconic duo. Fans begged for them to become a couple, and years later, Both admitted they secretly had crushes on each other, but neither said a word. This candid shot captures not just two stars, but a chemistry that could have changed Hollywood romances forever. A rare glimpse of what almost was. In 1918, the world was redrawn, and this photo shows the exact moment ordinary Americans tried to make sense of it. The people of Philadelphia gathered to study a brand new map of Europe, reshaped after the devastation of World War I. Empires collapsed, borders shifted, and millions wondered what this new world order would mean for the future. This wasn't just geography. It was history unfolding before their eyes, a rare glimpse of how Americans first confronted the global changes that would define the 20th century. In 1935, Benito Mussolini staged this chilling photo, standing before a statue of Augustus Caesar, giving the so-called Roman salute. By placing himself next to the image of Rome's first emperor, Mussolini wasn't just posing. He was declaring himself the heir to a new empire. This gesture symbolized his vision of reviving ancient Rome's glory through fascism, but in reality, it marked the beginning of dictatorship, oppression, and war. A single photograph, meant as propaganda, now stands as a stark reminder of how leaders manipulate history to justify power.